So now want to solve an example on vapor compression refrigeration system, and here system that we are going to talk about with some assumptions will be taken as refrigeration cycle. So whichever VCR cycle which we discuss is actually the ideal or the standard vapor compression or saturation vapor compression refrigeration cycle, as it is called many times. So this is a numerical on that. You can read as well as write it down. An ideal or standard with R134A as the working fluid. So the refrigerant used in this system is R134A. The refrigerant evaporates at minus 20 degrees Celsius and condenser pressure is 10 bar absolute. So the application of the refrigeration system is such that you need the evaporator temperature minus 20 degree Celsius. So maybe you want to produce the lowest temperature minus 15 degrees Celsius in a space, or you want to keep the product at that temperature. And because of that, you need to keep the evaporator at minus 20 degree Celsius. And we are also assuming that the system is condensing temperature or the sink where you're rejecting the heat is at such a temperature that the condenser pressure is 10 bar, and you can get the condensing temperature by using the property table.
Sir, you are not audible.
At the beginning of the lecture, am I not audible at all? Can you reply to this?
Your voice is breaking, sir.
So again, it seems to be an issue with the internet provider. Okay. So is this an issue with many people? A few of you can confirm. Then I will switch to my mobile data in that
Yes,
case.
sir. Yes, sir.
Is my means what? Not audible or audible?
No, sir. At present, you're audible, but sometimes your voice is jarring. Like means you're totally get disconnected from the meeting.
Will have to depend upon the data, mobile data. Okay. Let me try and do that. So I hope that the mobile data works better and there is no further problem with this. Okay. So we want to solve a numerical on standard or ideal vapor compression refrigeration cycle where the refrigerant is R134A and the system needs to produce minus 20 degrees Celsius in the evaporator and the condenser pressure is 10 bar absolute. So the condensing temperature is such that the corresponding pressure is 10 bar and you are able to measure that pressure. So that number is there with you. The mass flow rate of the refrigerant is given 0.01 kg per second. Now, what are the things that you want to know? One is the temperature of the refrigerant coming out of the compressor. Second is the cooling capacity of this system or the cooling rate provided by this system. Third is the COP of the cycle. So two of these are important performance parameters of the system, cooling capacity and the COP of the cycle. Some additional things of interest can be one, the temperature of the refrigerant coming out of the compressor. Second, the dryness fraction at the exit of capillary tube. And the swept volume of compressor if the compressor is running at 1400 RPM and the volumetric efficiency can be taken as 80% or 0.8. And we would also like to plot this cycle on pH chart. So you are already introduced with this chart, the pH chart, and we would like to plot the cycle on that chart. Okay, so let's start doing this exercise and you will need the property tables to be able to do this. So this is the property table and I hope you have those tables in front of you. Now, what is the most of the or large part of the exercise would be to get the enthalpy at a given state and get the enthalpy difference, and that enthalpy difference to get will be used to get different parameters. So you know about the cycle, how it looks on the TS diagram. The exit from evaporator or entry to the compressor is dry saturated vapor. And what do you know about state 1? What you know about state 1 is 1, it is dry saturated, means dryness fraction X is equal to 1, or the refrigerant is in the state of the refrigerant is dry saturated vapor. So in the table which gives you saturated refrigerant properties for R134A, you should be able to get different properties of the refrigerant, including enthalpy at this point. So let us refer the table and get that number. So we want to get H1. Okay. So you can read the table. Now, at what pressure or temperature, because it is at saturated state, you need only one of them. You don't need temperature as well as pressure. You need only one of them, and what you have is the temperature. But in that case, you need to refer the temperature based table. The other property you can say is dryness fraction X is equal to 1, right? So with the help of this known parameters, you should be able to get various properties. So this is the table for R134A, right? And this is temperature based table and it is minus 20 degrees Celsius here. So you get the corresponding saturation pressure is, it's given in megapascal, it's 0.13273, or in case of bar it will be 1.3273. And as I have already conveyed to you that the tables give the values in as absolute pressure. What you measure with gauges are the gauge pressures, right? So when you want to use the tables, in case you are measuring the parameter with a gauge and then trying to refer them, you should add whatever is the ambient pressure in that before referring to the table. But here we are talking about the temperature, and this is temperature based table. So I'll refer minus 20 degrees Celsius, the row for that, and the absolute pressure is 1.3273 bar, and let's say the ambient is around 1 bar, so you can add 1 bar to get 1 bar to that for getting the absolute uh, to get, just a minute. Yeah, so what is the absolute pressure? It's 1.3273, and if you take the ambient pressure to be around 1 bar, then the gauge pressure would be 2.3273 bar. As of now, we are not much concerned about that part, and there are other properties that are also available. We are interested, first thing is enthalpy, and we are talking about this state 1, which is saturated vapor. So you are going to take this number from here, 386.55, right? 386.55 is the saturated vapor enthalpy in kilojoule per kg. So that is H1. Okay. Yeah. It's good if you follow, if there is some instruction given, right? Because it's not one-to communication, it's one-to-many communication. So it should not create distraction for others. Yeah. So if I ask you to tell something, you are very much welcome to do that. Otherwise, not preferable, unless you want to specifically point out something, right? That will always be welcome. In I also may not be correct all the time. You can always draw attention to any mistake I make. Okay, so entropy is, sorry, we were talking about enthalpy, so it's 386.55. So that's the value of H1, right? And then the value of H2 may be of interest. The value of H2 may be of interest, because the compressor work, if you can recall, W, if you want to write it in kilojoule per kg, then it is nothing but H2 minus H1. Now you already have H1 from the table, but what about H2? The H2 value is required, but then what is the state? What is the state? The state is superheated vapor. Now, in case of superheated vapor, just one parameter is not enough. Which is the parameter that you know here? The parameter that you know here is pressure only. And the pressure is given as 10 bar, right? The or 0.1, sorry, 1 megapascal. The pressure is 10 bar or 0.1 megapascal. Okay. So, but that's the only parameter given. But whether you can get some other property also, so that you can get the enthalpy at 0.2, the answer is yes. If you think about the process 1-2, it's an isentropic isentropic compression. When you say isentropic, the meaning is that the entropy remains constant. Means whatever is the entropy at 0.1, the same is the entropy at 0.2 also. So you know pressure as well as entropy at 0.2, and because you know these two properties, it should be possible for you to get all other properties also. So how much is the entropy at point 2? The entropy at point is equal to entropy at point 1. So the way we got enthalpy here, which is 386.55 kilojoule per kg, you can also get the entropy at point 1. So S1 is equal to 1.7413. 1.7413 is the entropy at point 2, and so yeah, it's entropy at point 1 as well as at entropy at point 2. Now with the help of this entropy and the pressure, you should be able to get required properties at point 2. And one of the required properties as of now is enthalpy, but you cannot use this table for that purpose. This because this is giving you only saturated properties of the refrigerant. You need to refer to the table which provides you the superheated properties, right? The way in steam tables you have the saturated water properties as well as superheated steam properties. Here also you have two different kinds of tables. So now you need to go to and refer that table. Now those tables are pressure based tables. There are various parts of this according to the pressure. So you can see there are many other pressures also given, but I have just picked up a few from them. And this is 0.6 megapascal, 0.8 megapascal and 1 megapascal. So what is the condenser pressure? That is the pressure at point 2. It is equal to 10 bar or it is equal to 1 megapascal. And you can see also the saturation temperature is also given, which is 39.39 degree Celsius. And then though this is superheated property table, it also provides saturated properties. So saturated properties of the refrigerant, the liquid and vapor are also given, and then the properties at higher temperature higher than the saturation temperature, which is 39.39 degrees Celsius. At a point temperature higher than 39.39 degrees Celsius is also provided. So at 40 the properties are given, at 50 the properties are given, and so on. Now what we know about point 2 is one, pressure, which is this 1 megapascal, and second the entropy, which is equal to 1.7413. Now if I refer the entropy values here, what I find is that at 40 degrees Celsius temperature, the entropy is 1.7139, and at 50 it is 1.7482. Now the entropy of interest for us, S1 is equal to S2, is 1.7413, which falls between these two values. So we are going to do the linear interpolation now to get the temperature, and similarly we can also get the enthalpy by the same method. So you can understand that the temperature at the outlet of compressor state 2 is going to be between 40 and 50 degree Celsius. And here the enthalpies are 419.99 and 430.91. So the enthalpy at point 2 also must be somewhere between these two values. So how can you get it? You can get it with the help by doing the linear interpolation, which is done here. So the temperature, it's done for temperature, and similar thing can be done for the enthalpy also. So temperature T2 is 39.39, actually not 39.39, it's 40 plus, right? So it's between 40 and 50. So 40 plus, now what is the entropy difference between your state, that is state 2, that is 1.7413, and the entropy value at 40 degrees Celsius is 1.7139, right? 1.7139. Okay, that is the difference that you have in entropy. And what is the entropy difference between 40 and 50? It is at 50, it is 1.7482, and it is at 40, it is again 1.7139. Okay, so this fraction is going to be less than 1, and the temperature difference between 40 and 50 is 10. Right, so the actual temperature, as it is already understood now, that would be somewhere between 40 and 50. So with the help of this formula, you can get the temperature T2, which is the outlet temperature from from compressor, the discharge temperature from compressor, and we also take it as entry temperature to the condenser, right? So you can tell me what is this value. You can type it in chat box and post it here. Okay, a few answers would be welcome, and I believe all of them would be correct. So it's 47 point. Why is there some difference between various numbers? Forty-seven point 38, 47.38, 47.87, 47.98, 47.98, 47.65. Okay, so it's 47 point something. Okay, there is a bit of deviation. There should not be much deviation. You can check what is the reason for deviation. Okay, so it's 47 point something. So that's the temperature here, and the temperature at the outlet of the compressor, or at state 2. So it is slightly superheated. Your saturation temperature is 39.39, but the vapor enters into the condenser is slightly superheated. So what will happen is it will be slightly, it's in a superheated state, but actually not very high degree of superheat. It's just around 7-8 degrees Celsius is the superheat. So it's a low superheat, and in case of this R134A, the superheat is low. So there is a little bit of de-superheating, that is cooling of the superheated vapor, and then it becomes saturated, say at the same pressure. So here again, my assumption is that there is no pressure drop in condenser or in evaporator, right? So the pressure remains constant throughout the de-superheating and condensation process. So it becomes like it achieves temperature of 39.39 degrees Celsius at point 2 dash, and then the conversion of vapor into liquid starts, and the temperature as well as pressure remains constant at 39.39 degree Celsius. And finally, all required heat is rejected and it comes to saturated liquid state, which is 0.3. So 0.3 is saturated liquid. Now you are not asked to get the heat rejection in the condenser, and you can get it indirectly also. That is, if you find the heat which is absorbed in the evaporator and the work that is done by the compressor, the addition of those two is going to anyway give you the heat rejected through the condenser. Yes, and we are also interested, or we are more interested probably, in getting H2, which can be found with the similar kind of equation, right? So what you are going to write there? Here you are going to write what? First thing, the enthalpy at 40. So it's 419.99. 419.99. And this is the entropy difference for 419.99, right? 419.99, and at 50 it is 430.91, right? 430. So at 50 it is 430.91, and at 40 it is 419.99. 419.99, right? Okay, so this is how you can get the enthalpy H2. You can get the enthalpy H2. So you can post your answers for enthalpy H2. Okay. What is the enthalpy H2? Which you get by, again, linear interpolation between the value at 40 and value at 50. So at 40 it is 419.99, at 50 it is 430.91, but your value is somewhere in between, which you can get with linear interpolation with the help of the entropy values. Okay. So it is 428.71. Okay, as per Sairaj it is 428.71. Okay, so you get the enthalpy at 0.2. Now, how much is the work done in kilojoule per kg? This will be in kilojoule per kg, right? This will be in kilojoule per kg. So at least when you write the final answer, you should be writing the unit. Do not write the values without unit. And W is nothing but H2 minus H1. You already know H1, and you have also found, so that seems to be good agreement for H2 value. So you can go ahead with this value and put it in this equation. So you get W in kilojoule per kg. So you can also provide me the value of W now, which is H2 minus H1. And simultaneously, you can also visualize the process on the pH diagram. And finally, I will also be drawing it on the pH. It will also be drawing it on pH diagram. So work seems to be 42.16. 4 significant digits are generally enough, so you don't need to go beyond that, right? So for you, like even if you write 42.16 kilojoule per kg, it's fine. Okay. Yeah. So that's the work done, and again that seems to be good agreement between people. So fine. Yeah. Now, what is the other thing of interest? Say you want to, one thing you wanted to get. Okay, so let me write down this number 42.16. Okay, I believe you people. So 42.16, right? Kilojoule per kg. Now H3. Now, what is of interest to us? One, work. Second, the heat that is absorbed here in process 4.1. So for that, you need to know H4, and H1 is already known. So only thing now we need to get is H4. Now H4 is again in inside the saturation domes, it's a mixture of vapor and liquid. And again, you don't know what is the dryness fraction here. So how to get H4? Actually, it's very easy to get H4 because you know that 3,4 is isenthalpic expansion. So enthalpy is going to remain same. The enthalpy H3 is easy to get. It is nothing but the enthalpy of liquid at 10 bar pressure. So you can again get it. You can get it from this table also, as I have already conveyed to you that this table, though taken from superheated table, it also provides you the saturated properties for the liquid, saturated liquid and saturated vapor. So saturated liquid enthalpy is 255.44 degree Celsius, 255.44 kilojoule per kg. So 255.44 is the enthalpy at 3 as well as 4, and QE, that is the cooling effect, is H1 minus H4. You can see that I am always writing higher enthalpy number minus lower enthalpy number because we are interested in the quantity and not the direction, or rather you already know the direction, right, from where it is coming and where it is going, what is rejecting it and what is gaining it, right? So QE is equal to H1 minus H4, right? So you can get this number and provide that number to me, and after that you can get COP. It's just the ratio of QE and W. So you can get that COP number, right? So 131.11, right? 131.11. Okay. Seems to kilojoule per kg. Right? Kilojoule per kg. And now with the help of QE and W, you can get the COP value. So 3.1098. Okay, so if you go up to 4 significant digits, it would be 3.110, right? 3.110. So that's the, or for COP, only 2 digits after decimal point may be needed. So you can call it, you can write it as 3.11 is the COP, right? 3.11 is the COP in this cycle, right? So this is a typical value of COP in a vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Here the evaporator temperature is minus 20 degree Celsius. So that's not very, neither very high temperature nor very low temperature for an evaporator. You can say it's some intermediate one, considering different applications. But the condenser, again, the
Sir, your voice is gone.
similar thing is for the condenser pressure. There seems there was some issue, but seems it is resolved now. Okay. So condenser and evaporator pressure that you that are there here are the moderate ones, and this is the typical value of COP that you can expect in a vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Okay. Now we are also interested in the capacity. So it's very easy to get it. So this QC dash is nothing but m dot r into, either you write it in form of the enthalpy difference, or you can write it like this: mass flow rate of refrigerant into the cooling effect. So that's the rate, and the mass flow rate is 1 kg per second. So you can multiply this QE with 0.01, QE with 0.01. So it will be equal to, here J should be capital, right? So it's 1.311 kilowatt. Okay, that's the capacity of the system, right? That's the capacity of the system. 1.311, sorry, kilowatt is the capacity or cooling rate provided by this system. So it's a small system, not a very big system, right? If you want to convert it into tons of refrigeration, then 1 ton of refrigeration is around 3.52 kilowatt, right? 3.52 kilowatt. So you can divide this number with 3.52 or 3.516, and you can get the value in tons of refrigeration. So this is not even 1 ton of refrigeration. Okay, so this is somewhat higher than 1/3 ton of refrigeration. Okay, so seems to be a small system. So for a bigger system, the capacity, or rather the flow rate of refrigerant, would be higher. So two of the parameters of interest or performance parameter, COP and the cooling rate, has been found. And then to get some more understanding of the system, to get some more understanding of the system, it will be a fraction of ton, and a ton will be generally written as TR, capital T, capital R, right? Capital T, capital R, right? So you divide it with 3.516 and you get the number in tons of refrigeration, okay, which is a more common unit in the field of refrigeration and air conditioning. Okay. So now other parameters of interest, when you want to understand the cycle or develop some more insight into the cycle, one of them can be the volume flow rate, and that is related with the size of the compressor. And so the volume flow rate you can get by just multiplying the mass flow rate of refrigerant with the specific volume at point 1, because 1 is the entry to the compressor, right? 1 is the entry to the compressor. So how much is V1? Can get it from the saturation table. So again, minus 20 degrees Celsius and specific volume of vapor divided in this column. So it's 0.14739, 0.9 meter cube per kg, 0.14739, right? So this will be the volume flow rate, right? This will be the volume flow rate of the refrigerant. So that's in meter cube per second. That's in meter cube per second. Okay. So 0.0014739 meter cube per second. Okay. You can, because meter cube is too big a unit, so you may write it in centimeter cube per second or cc per second, right? So you can multiply this number with 10 raised to 6 to get it in cc per second or centimeter cube per second. So it's 147.39 centimeter cube per second. Okay. So 140. So it will. Okay. 1474 roughly, right? 14. No. Is it 1.4739? 1.4739, right? Okay. So 1474, right? Roughly 14. Is this number correct or this one is correct? 14. Yeah, it's the same number, but here it's writing written wrongly. It seems 14. Is it 37 or 73? Okay. So that's the volume flow rate, 1474 centimeter cube. Okay. So this many cc's per second, and if it is running at 1400 rpm, revolutions per minute. So RPM you convert into RPS, revolutions per second. So 1400 by 60. So that many strokes are occurring per second, right? So you can divide it with number of strokes per second. So in that case, you will get the ideal. In that case, you will get the ideal volume or swept volume of the compressor, right? You will get the ideal swept volume of the compressor. So the ideal swept volume, I'm not writing as a rate, so that so Vs, right? That would be equal to this what you get divided by, I'm writing small n. So small n is in RPS, revolutions per second, which is equal to 1400 divided by 60. So here you get the swept volume, the ideal one, in cc's or centimeter cube, right? That is the ideal swept volume. So can you provide me the value of ideal swept volume by dividing it by, multiplying it by 60 and dividing it by 1400. Okay, so it seems to be somewhere around 63. 63.2 roughly, 63.2 roughly, 63.16 or 17, right? So 17, let's say 63.17. So that's the CC. Though we commonly write centimeter cube, you can either write centimeter cube or CC. Now this is the ideal swept volume, but the compressor is not giving you 100% volumetric efficiency. It is giving you 80% volumetric efficiency. So what you can do is you increase your swept volume, or like in case for the actual cylinder, you will have to go for higher volume, higher swept volume, so that 80% of that becomes the 63.17. So the actual swept volume that you should provide, the actual swept volume that you should provide would be this number that you get divided by 0.8, right? Divided by 0.8. So in actual, you should provide that much specific volume so that you are able to get 63.17 out of that, right? So you should provide 78.96 centimeter cube, right? So this gives you some idea about the size of the compressor. Though it's a small system, right? The domestic refrigerator is also a small system. So you can appreciate the size of the compressor that you need to have. Of course, depends upon what is the, but this is a typical speed of the compressor also, right? So this kind of data could be useful for design of the compressor. So 78.96 seems to be an answer in agreement with most of the people, right? So you can write that number here. Okay. So we have found all required things except one thing, and that is the dryness fraction at the exit of the capillary tube. Let's say the capillary tube is the expansion device used. Yeah. So here it's an isenthalpic process. You know enthalpy at this point. Now you can recall what you used to do to get the dryness fraction in case of in case of the boiler or turbine, etc., or just when you study the properties of steam. So this is a mixed state. A part of it is liquid and part of it is vapor. So H4 is equal to HF plus XHFG, right? So you can write this equation H4, right? Because it's a mixture of liquid and vapor, the enthalpy of that would be HF plus XHFG. Okay, but at what pressure or temperature? Everything is at minus 20 degree Celsius, right? So get everything from this table, saturated properties of the refrigerant, So HF is nothing but 173.64. HFG is the difference between these two, and you already know H4, right? You already know H4, so you can put that value here, and that's how you will get the dryness fraction. That's how you will get the dryness fraction, right? So low dryness fraction is desired, high dryness fraction is not desired. But if you want to achieve lower temperatures, you have to extend this process further, and you have to means the dryness fraction will be high in that case, right? One thing that you will see later can be done, and that is you can subcool the refrigerant coming out of condenser, and that can help you to reduce the dryness fraction here, because whatever liquid is available is only useful. There is no means other things are not 0.8 or 0.39 in that range. Okay, so that's the dryness fraction that you get. So 38% gets converted into vapor, right? 38 gets converted into vapor, and remaining 72% is the liquid, which is actually the only useful part of the refrigerant, which will be used to absorb the heat from the space, and it will get boiled, and finally it will become saturated vapor. Okay. So this brings us to the end of this example. Only thing remaining for this example is plotting it on the pH diagram. So we'll do that after in the next class.